look at adding a tilt shift effect to our background layer. So I'm going to start by making a copy of the background, and then I want to crop in, because with abstract photography it's all about making creating a distortion in your image. So you want some parts of the image ideally to be mostly about shapes, colors, lines, textures, those different elements and principles of art and design, like balance or symmetry. So really your viewer shouldn't be distracted by what it is. They're more looking at how it's captured and the beauty of art for art's sake. So really the goal is to make your viewer ask, what is that? So in order to distort this image a little bit more, we already have a lot of great texture, and we have it's sort of unrecognizable what it is unless, you know, we have the context of the ground down here and some of the door handles. So I might go ahead and push that even further and use my crop tool in order to crop in, and maybe holding shift. I might want to focus on just one part of it. Maybe I want, you know, to see all the great texture over here. Maybe I want that to come in a little bit more. Maybe I rotate it a little just to kind of throw off our impression of what that is. And I kind of like this angle over here with some of the car parts all meshed together in interesting ways. So I'm going to hit enter, go ahead and apply that crop. I like to make sure this delete cropped pixels is not checked, so that if I want to go back and get some of those pixels again, I can. Okay, so I'm going to make a copy of this background layer because I'm neurotic and I just like having tons of copies just in case. So on this layer, we're going to keep this layer in focus. The one below it, we're going to add blur. So I'm going to show you what that does by hiding the top layer and then going up to filter, blur, and then I'm going to choose lens blur. So in the lens blur, the radius is what controls how much blur you have. So if you want more blur, you might want to turn that up. Make it even more intense, click OK, and we're going to add something called a tilt shift effect. So this simulates the look of a tilt shift lens, which is literally tilted just like it sounds, so that it's a very extreme shallow depth of field. Parts of the image are out of focus, and then usually the center of the image is in focus. So it creates this sort of artificial look. So this image is in focus. What's below it is blurred. So what we're going to do is click on this image that is focused, and this one is blur. And I do have a backup of the focused image, so if I mess it up, I can always like make it again with this layer 0. So on the focus image, I'm going to enter into quick mask mode. So at the bottom of the toolbar, you can click on this little mask button, and notice now this is in red. So anywhere that I add is going to basically hide from my mask. So I am going to click on the gradient tool, and I want to make sure that instead of linear gradient or radial, I have reflective gradient selected. So now it's going from black to white to black again. So I can fade it so that this part looks in focus and these two parts are out of focus. So I'm just going to click and drag this direction a little bit, and now I've created my mask. And now when I take that mask, quick mask mode off, it's going to apply a selection. But what you can't see is that that selection has blurred edges. What I have here is it's rendered a selection. What you can't see is that this is blurred from here to there to here to there. So that's not like a solid edge. It's going to be a nice fade. So all I have to do now is add a mask, and it's going to hide everything outside the selection from this focus layer. So that means that the blurred layer underneath is going to show through in just these two areas on either side of the center. So now the center is blurred, or sorry, so now the center is in focus, the edges are blurred, and we really get a sense of that tilt shift effect. It's hard to even tell what this is. We can then go even further and maybe rotate, image rotation. I wonder if canvas rotation would be, let's see. Let's rotate 90 degrees clockwise. There we go. So that's even taking it even further out of context. It's harder to tell what it is, so adding blur selectively can help to abstract your scene. Now we can also play with these colors and make the colors very bizarre. So if you go under adjustments, hue, saturation, you can drag these colors around and create a new color scheme that's sort of abstract. That maybe increase the saturation a little bit. We can play around with the lightness. Again, your goal is to make your viewer ask, what is that? Okay, Now I might want to even go further and add like a filter. So I have to make sure that I have a layer, but I can add it to one of these layers. So let's see, maybe I'll add it to just the focus layer. Ooh, and then I could add a different filter to the blur layer. So now we're getting real weird. Okay, so we're gonna go to filter. There's more things that you can do now since we're on an actual layer. So I'm gonna click on filter gallery, and filter gallery allows you to have some artistic license with your work here. So I might zoom out. You can add different textures, and again, this is only going to show on that part of the layer that's displayed. Ooh, we could do like a photocopy look. I should have probably made a copy of this layer so that I can like blend it. Ooh, I kind of like that. Looks like a graphic pen. It sort of looks like it was drawn. Here's torn edges. Okay, instead of doing this, because this is a destructive edit, I'm going to go ahead and make a copy. And notice it didn't change anything. But this layer is going to show. This layer is hidden. So you can't see any difference when I turn that on. So I'm going to go to filter and then choose filter gallery. Now I'm not so worried about messing it up. Kind of like the torn edges. There's stylize options. There's texture that you can add. Stained glass. Texture. Here's like kind of like the patchwork effect. Note paper. Graphic pen was nice. You can kind of click. Oh, here's one called distort. Let's see what's under distort. So I can make it diffused. Give it like a glowing effect. That's kind of cool. Yeah, let's choose diffused glow and see what that looks like. So it's only on this middle layer. I don't really like that. I could try adding a blending mode. Ooh, now we're getting somewhere. Color burn. Okay, so this is before, this is after we added our filter and our blending mode to make that kind of see-through. If I turn this off, notice it'll change. So if I'm going to make another filter on this one, let's try blur. I'm going to make a copy of that blur layer so that I can do another blending mode. I'm going to go to filter, and this time it's going to affect this part and this part, the top and the bottom. So let's go back to filter gallery, and this time it's all really blurred. So let's see what would be a good type of effect. Maybe you could do glass. There's different brush strokes. That could be interesting. It was taking a while to render. I might just try glass because it kind of goes with the blur. Yeah, so let's try glass. Okay, so you can't really tell what it did unless you zoom in. And you can see that transition from the glass foggy diffused texture to this more glowing texture. Oh, this picture has come a long way. And if you want to see what you've done all together, you can put all of these into a group. And then you can turn the group on and off. So this was before and this is after. So we've just kept adding and kept abstracting in order to trick the viewer's eye. Okay, and then the last thing we can do here on this blur layer is maybe add another one of these blending modes to really distort and alter that image. Overlay creates texture or contrast. Overlay creates contrast. Difference, exclusion. Ooh, that creates the opposite colors. That can be very abstract. Maybe we'll try this difference, and then I can lower the opacity of that image if I want it to be less intense. And then maybe I can solarize. So another filter option is to go down to stylize and choose solarize. Ooh, and that kind of, if you zoom in close, you can see what it did to your original layer. Okay, so there's some abstract car parts using Photoshop.